New Jersey Devils analyst and studio host Rachel Herzog joined me on today's episode. We talked about her career first beginning at St. Cloud State University and later landing the gig with the Devils. There's a lot to discuss alongside Rachel. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, Devils writer of Pucks and Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. It's the first episode of October. It might be the start of spooky season, but I have all treats and no tricks for y'all. Joining me on today's episode is a person who first made a name for herself at St. Cloud State University, both as a defenseman and sports reporter. After college, she joined WDAY ABC in North Dakota and has provided a lot of coverage for both professional and collegiate teams. An Oakdale, Minnesota native, now joining MSG to cover the New Jersey Devils alongside Bill Spalding, Ken Danico, and Bryce Salvador. It's newly added analyst and studio host, Rachel Herzog. Rachel, how you doing on this fine afternoon?
I'm doing great, Trey. I'm really happy to be here and to just talk about everything that's been going on over the past couple weeks. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, honestly, getting from Fargo to New Jersey. I've never left the Midwest before, so ever since I got the call that I got the job, it's been pretty chaotic. But I think now that we've got a couple preseason games under our belt, we're feeling pretty good.
Now, before we jump right into it, I first want to give a shout out to Anna Baining, your fellow St. Cloud State University alum, and also MSG for making this possible. Real quick, you talked about the adjustment and how's it been like getting accustomed to everything. As we all know, MSG has already conducted a few broadcasts, like you just said. Devils preseason is about to wrap up before the games start counting for real. How's it been so far?
It's been quite the adjustment, like I was talking about. I've never really left the Midwest. Any traveling I really did was all for hockey tournaments. So if I spent time on the East Coast, I was living in a hockey arena. So getting to establish myself out here over the past month and a half, I think I've been here. Maybe not even. I think we're just coming up on a month. But it's a lot different living here in New Jersey compared to what I'm used to in Minnesota and North Dakota. But it's been a good learning curve too. It's something I've been really excited about, really immersing myself into the area. I've tried out a lot of restaurants already and just making sure I know the area and just understanding the differences between here and home. And adjusting to MSG, like I said, it's been a big adjustment going from Fargo to here and going from covering high school and college sports to covering professional teams in the NHL, right? So just understanding the different calibers of where this job can take you. I mean, I learned so much in Fargo, but being able to work with such a good crew here so far, even people that don't work within the Devils broadcast crew, everybody says how great of a crew it truly is. All the people have been super accommodating, super helpful and encouraging, and are really confident in me, which helps me have more confidence in myself. Like I said, it's a big adjustment, just mentally too, handling professional caliber teams and broadcasts. It's a big jump for me, but I'm encouraged by the people that I've been surrounded by so far.
I had Bill Spalding on this show a few weeks ago, and he talked nothing but good things about MSG and the crew that you guys have, how you guys work hard, but at the same time, you guys get along with each other quite nicely, whether it's on the rink, off the rink. And I think chemistry is so important when you have a big crew and you're just trying to produce a great product. And it's nice to know that you guys do care for one another and you all have that great chemistry. And speaking of which, this interview was inevitable. Had Bill Spalding on, like I just said, Ken Danico, Bryce Salvador. And I just want to say it's a great honor to have you appear on my show and basically complete it, if you would, because like I said, I've had all your other colleagues on this show before.
Yeah. No, it's been great. And you named three really great guys, right? Bill was the first one that kind of reached out to me and helped me get settled in the area. His wife even sent me a text saying if I had any questions on where I needed to shop, any grocery stores that I wanted to go to that she would recommend. Everybody's just been super great. And talking with Bryce Salvador, a very elite hockey mind, has a lot of experience in the league and with the Devils in general. He's been super helpful just getting me adjusted to being in this area and learning the team really well, right? And Ken Danico is such a character. He brings so much energy to the group too. He brings so many laughs and keeps it almost lighthearted, right? You can get really into the fact that everybody's working so hard to put together a good product, right? But you want to bring that energy and show everybody's personalities. And I think he brings that out of everyone.
Dano is an absolute character. And when he's not on air, he's definitely loud and he has an exuberant personality. I remember being in Vegas covering the Devils, and it was on national television. So MSG wasn't broadcasting it, but he and Bill were in a box right behind me. And Dano was just basically being like a fan and just yelling. And it was enjoyable. I loved it. I loved all three of those people you mentioned, great hockey minds and just overall great people, and have been very welcoming whenever I'm at the Prudential Center covering the Devils. But before we get into your new gig with New Jersey, I want to get to know you a little bit more. I know you've covered a lot of sports, but focusing on hockey, where did hockey begin for you and how did it lead you to St. Cloud State?
Yeah, so I grew up in Woodbury, Minnesota, and we lived where there was a pond in our backyard. So I have three other sisters. We all ended up playing hockey up through high school. And but when we were younger, we'd go out and skate on the pond. And then my older sister eventually got on a team, and I grew up watching her a little bit more. And then my parents finally asked me, like, do you want to play? And I was like, yeah, I actually want to start playing. So I think I started around 9 or 10 years old, which is typically later than maybe some college hockey players typically say they put on skates, at 3 or 4 years old. Whenever they can start walking, they're skating around, right? So I got into the structured game of hockey a little bit later, but really started to pick up speed with it around 8th grade. I think that's kind of when me and my dad started to think, okay, maybe you're kind of good enough where you could maybe take this somewhere. And I had the opportunity to either go to my public school in my area, or I could go to the private school that was 15 minutes away that was very known to have really great hockey teams, both boys and girls. So went to a couple Hill Murray hockey games, realized how good of a program they had over there and such a powerhouse in women's hockey, and decided to go there. My older sister went to Tartan, and I was the first kid to go to Hill Murray. And then eventually my 2 younger sisters followed. So 3 of us ended up going to Hill. Started going on college visits, I think as a sophomore. I don't think I did any as a freshman. But I took a long time to decide where I wanted to go to school. I was going on visits as a 14, 15-year-old, right? And going out on the East Coast, going to Yale, going to Penn State. And they're like, okay, we need to know in a week if you want to come here. And this whole process was very new to me. My goal as a kid wasn't, I want to play college hockey. It was like, oh, I'm playing. And oh, maybe it could be something that I could do, right? So it was a very new idea to me. So the fact that these coaches were wanting me to commit to their school as a 14-year-old, where I would be going to school from 18 to 22, was just alarming to me. So I went on plenty of visits, and St. Cloud was there the whole way. I mean, they were one of the first schools that reached out to me, and they were there through senior year wanting me to go to their school and be a part of their program. So I eventually committed to St. Cloud at the beginning of my senior year, I believe. So I waited quite a while, because now you hear about kids committing in 7th and 8th grade to collegiate programs. And that's just insane to me. And props to the girls that are able to do that. They're obviously very skilled and very gifted players, but just to think that you're 12 years old knowing where you're going to go to college already is pretty crazy. But yeah, that's how I ended up at St. Cloud.
Before we continue today's discussion with Rachel, let me tell you guys about Game Time. I've actually used the Game Time app before to purchase myself some baseball and basketball tickets. What is Game Time? Well, Game Time picks, curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views. Get a good view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time, everybody. Okay, let's get back to our discussion with Rachel Herzog. Take it away once again. I had a similar conversation with Bill about this, and he had aspirations of someday being a professional baseball player, but he realized early on that was probably not in his future.
Yeah.
So that's why he decided to take a career in sports media. I'm sort of the same way. I reached the college level for baseball, and I held on to a small sliver of hope that maybe I could play independent ball or overseas somewhere. But once I got to my junior year at my first college, Adrian, I just knew, nope, there's no chance. I was a very mediocre baseball player, and that's me being polite about it. And also, like, you talk about someone committing at an early age. I knew someone who was recruited when he was in middle school, and he committed to Vanderbilt University.
It's crazy. Is it not insane?
He committed to Vanderbilt as a freshman in high school. I'm like, wow, that's incredible, because the thing is, like, when you're that young, you're still developing. That's the thing.
Your opinions can change and your aspirations can change so much in 3 or 4 years. But usually, I think typically the girls that do commit that early, and I guess I could say guys too, and just the sports world in general, they typically end up staying with the school that they commit to, which is props to them for really sticking it through.
It's always stressful to get recruited and just decide where you're going. But now let's talk about your collegiate career just a little bit. What would you say was your greatest achievement or favorite memory as a college athlete? And how did you balance everything from being an athlete, a student, and also trying to establish yourself in this industry?
Yeah, so I would say through my 4 years of playing at St. Cloud, I probably have two memories that I would probably put at the top of the list. One of them was my freshman year. We played Wisconsin, and they have always been a powerhouse team, right? They had a charity game set up where they were selling tickets for $1, and we were the team that they were playing, and they played in the Kohl Center, which is the men's arena in Wisconsin. And I think we played in front of nearly 17,000 fans, which was the record for, I think, a long time, up until the PWHL kind of got underway, for the most attendance at a women's hockey game in college. So just being a part of that little piece of history and walking out onto the ice and seeing all the fans almost filled up the Kohl Center. I think it was the most fans that arena saw all year too. So I think we outsold the men's program too, which is kind of funny. But just being able to kind of experience what the men's side of the game gets all the time, right? They get a lot of fans every single game, something that maybe gets taken advantage of a little bit because it's just something they're used to. But for a girl growing up in the sports world, they don't really get that same energy and passion in the arena. So getting that for the first time for a lot of us was really cool. And then we also got to play in the first women's college hockey outdoor game for Hockey Day Minnesota. So it was the one game a year. It's a big holiday across the state. I don't know how well known it is throughout the country, but it's one day a year, and they really highlight a bunch of different games that are going on that day. And we were the first team. We played UMD, so Minnesota Duluth, outdoor in St. Cloud.
Wait. I don't mean to cut you off. University of Minnesota Duluth. That is also where Chico Resch, color commentator for Devils Radio, that's where he went.
Yeah.
Just a little fun fact for you Devils fans. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, that's okay. We played Duluth outdoors in St. Cloud, and just knowing that we were the first group of girls to be able to do that at the collegiate level again, back-to-back years, was really cool. And that type of a game, you'd think it'd be super competitive, which of course it was. Like, once you got out onto the ice, it was go time. But beforehand, all the girls, both teams, were just taking in the fact that this was a piece of history that we were marking today. And we were making sure we were taking pictures and remembering the memories before and after the game. And I think those two things, just being a little piece of history, no matter if it's just in Minnesota or across the country, I think are two memories that I'll keep with me for forever.
Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I read somewhere that you intended to major in pre-med, which is a polar opposite of journalism. When did you first realize that your true calling was sports broadcasting and journalism?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we in our family, we have four girls, and all of us were very math and science oriented in high school and really loved school. And my older sister was pursuing biomed in college. And I was like, okay, well, I love math and I love science and I like my anatomy classes and chemistry. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to do that in college. That's what I like to do. Well, I had 2 years of that under my belt and realized how isolated I was from just my teammates, just friends, anything that wasn't school driven, I wasn't able to participate in just because of how grueling the school schedule was on top of a hockey schedule. And started to realize how much of an extrovert I really was. I always knew I really loved people and I feed off of people's energy. But when those moments were taken away because I was just studying all the time or I was in class or in the library, I realized how driven I was by human interaction and wanting to collaborate with people to come to an end goal and being able to build a product together. So I was 3/4 the way through my sophomore year and I was like, I cannot do this another year. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I know I'm not going to be doing this. And the girl that was the ice side reporter for the men's Huskies hockey games, she became friends with us and our women's hockey team just because she would hang out in our hockey lounge during men's hockey games. So we'd always pop down there during intermissions, grab a snack from the fridge or in the lounge. And we kind of built this same circle of friends. And I was telling her about how I needed to switch my major into something else. She's like, well, you should do what I'm doing. You like people, you know the game, you're outgoing, and you know how to talk about it. So maybe consider going into TV, which is a realm I had never thought about prior to that moment. But I really had no idea what else I wanted to do. So I kind of just ran with it, joined a mass communications major my junior year, and got as involved as I could in extracurriculars on top of having a hockey schedule. But stuck around and did that for 4 years, stuck around an extra 2 years so I could actually be on the Husky Productions broadcast team because I couldn't do it while I was still playing because every time the men's team was playing, we were also playing. So I did what I could for the broadcasts, had a couple of my own shows that would air during games, but it was all pre-recorded, and that's all that I was able to contribute while I was playing. But stuck around an extra 2 years, got on the broadcast team, got some experience there, and just kind of ran with it. I think it ended up being the biggest and best decision I've ever made.
I think a lot of the Devil's Discourse will agree with you because based on what I've seen on social media, everyone loves you. And I think you're going to do great things. But now, coming out of college, it led you to ABC in North Dakota.
Yep.
Then ultimately, you landed your gig with the Devils. Being in this industry myself, I know how difficult it is to get your name out there where so many people want to do what you're doing. So what was that process like from your perspective of coming out of college and just trying to establish yourself in the industry and make a name for yourself?
Yeah, well, once I graduated, I took 6 months off. I wasn't looking for jobs. I had been in school for 6 years. The 2 extra years that I stuck around, I was only in 2 classes this semester, but I was working a lot, whether it was for the broadcast team or the athletic department at St. Cloud. So once I was done, I was like, I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a break. But I had a friend that I had graduated with. He's actually my best friend. He immediately after we graduated went up to Fargo. And he had kind of been bugging me, like, you should come work here. We're probably going to have sports jobs open in the next couple months. And I was like, okay, do I really want to keep moving north? Like, I'm from right outside the Twin Cities, went to St. Cloud. Do I really want to go up to North Dakota? I haven't been anywhere else. And so I kind of pushed it off. I was like, yeah, okay. And then finally he texted me and he was like, well, I told my boss you were applying for the weekend sports anchor and reporter job, so now you have to. And that's how I eventually landed my job up there. It ended up being a great fit. Was there for a little less than 2 years, but had really great coworkers, got a lot of really good opportunities up there. We covered high school state tournaments, basketball and hockey. The past 2 years, well, the WDAY has been doing it for a long time, but for me personally, I got to cover some of those high school tournaments. And then anchoring on the weekends, filled in for the main anchor when he wasn't available, and got to meet some really, really awesome people up there. And then when I knew I was kind of wanting to switch courses, not that I was really necessarily applying for jobs yet, but I heard that the host and reporter position was opening up with the Devils. And I was like, okay, well, I just need to get my name in the pool. Like, I got to figure out how to get my name in there. Couldn't find an application anywhere, like nowhere. I spent a couple days looking and couldn't find anything. I was like, okay, how can I maybe work some connections to maybe talk to somebody out there? I looked on the Devils roster and coaching staff and saw that Dave Rogalski, the goalie coach, coached at St. Cloud in 2010. So I was like, okay, who do I know that was around the arena and around the program in 2010? Because I obviously wasn't there. And the equipment manager I became really great friends with. He was there for 30-ish years, and he had just recently retired. So reached out to Jeremiah, and I was like, what are the odds you have Dave Rogalski's number? He sent it to me, which then I contacted Dave, who got me connected with Chris Gajaro, who was doing all of the hiring for this position. So that's kind of how I got my name out there. We talk about it all the time, how important connections are, but it doesn't even need to be people within the industry, right? Any people that you connect with, just personally enough where you could reach out to them. Like Jeremiah, I never thought he would be somebody that helps me get a job in the NHL, right? But he was a big piece to me getting in contact with the people I needed to get in contact with.
I respect your hustle, Rachel. I gotta commend you on that one. And I always tell my audience, if you want to succeed in this industry, networking, and it doesn't matter if it's like someone who's directly involved in what you're trying to get into. Some people might know some people that can help you get to that position.
Yes.
All right. I got some questions lined up from my audience.
Okay.
St. Cloud State has produced a decent amount of NHL players. Who are some of your favorite college hockey prospects to watch while you were there, or maybe they're in the NHL right now and you kind of hold a special place in your heart for them because they went to your university?
Yeah, so there's a handful of them for sure while I was either attending or working for St. Cloud. One of my good friends at the time, we try to keep in touch here and there, but his name's Jack Ashawn. He's in the Boston Bruins organization. He's played a couple NHL games, but I think I tend to watch defensemen a lot more than I do forwards, just because that's my position. So I have a lot more admiration for good players that are defensemen. And he was just so skilled, and he wasn't all that tall. He's one of those guys who's on the smaller side, but doesn't play small. So he was always really great to watch, one of my good friends. Same with Nick Perbix. He plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think he's been in the league. This might be his third year now. Mikey Asamont, I believe, I'm trying to remember. I think he might be with Tampa still too. He's hopped around a little bit. And then Will Borgen plays for Seattle. So those are all guys that I kind of went through St. Cloud with, whether they were a year younger or a year older than me. So it's really cool to watch those guys now, and knowing that I got to see them grow throughout their collegiate careers, and seeing them do big things in the pros is really awesome. Makes you feel a little bit more connected to the game.
Yeah, and I have a special place in my heart for people like Joey DeCord or Josh Doan, because they went to Arizona State, my alma mater. We don't get too many NHL players from ASU because we're still trying to establish ourselves a little bit more in the NCAA. But like I said, I always hold a special place in my heart for DeCord and Doan, and I hope they succeed in the NHL, still relatively young in their careers. Somebody wants to know, since you're a former player, are you looking to join a beer league team in New Jersey? Well,
I do have my skates, gloves and stick. I actually had my parents ship me my skates because I forgot about them. And then I was like, I should have them just in case. So they're actually sitting in my cupboard behind me. I haven't had a ton of opportunity to skate since I stopped playing. I played a couple times on New Year's with family. But other than that, I've been pretty busy. But definitely something to think about. I'm definitely not closed off to the idea because being out on the ice is something now, especially more than ever, I cherish a lot, just staying in tune with the game. So the option is still open. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying yes.
Devils fans, send Rachel some suggestions what team she should join. All right. How much did you know about the Devils prior to joining the organization, and what helped you choose New Jersey?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I knew a whole lot about the Devils organization in general. I do watch a lot of hockey games. Just growing up, watching it with my dad, especially. He's a big hockey fan. He played in college, and then all of my sisters played. So we watched a lot of Wild games. And then if they weren't playing, we'd just toss on NHL Network. So I think I've just watched the league for pretty much my whole life. I don't think I knew anything super hyper specific about this team, though. But I really hopped on the opportunity when I saw that the position was opening because, one, who doesn't want to work in the NHL if you've played hockey before? And just anybody in general. It's such a good league to be around, really known for good people, and that's both to be true so far, even with the people that I'm working with and getting to know the players so far. Everybody's been super nice and welcoming and encouraging of me and makes me want to be around the group a lot more. But yeah, I just think that the opportunity came to light and I had to jump on it. And I think the experiences that I've had so far have been nothing but positive. And it being in Jersey, it gave me that opportunity to push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit, of the Midwest, of the North Dakota and Minnesota, to push me to go somewhere completely new and immerse myself in a new area, which I was looking forward to.
Before we close out today's episode with Rachel, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started off with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to look at the odds, and please remember to always gamble responsibly. Okay, let's close out today's episode with Rachel. Take it away yet again. I had Amanda Stein, who you've probably met a few times already. Yeah. I had her on my show almost 2 years ago, and she is originally from Montreal, and she covered the Canadiens prior to joining the Devils. And similar to what you said, she was familiar with them and had to basically learn as she went. And I was the same way when I first took over Locked On Devils many years ago. 5 years ago? I started in 2020. But wow, that's terrible math. 4 years ago.
4 years going on.
4 years ago. This is why I'm in communications, all right?
Right.
Math was not my strong suit. But yeah, it's like you learn more and more each day. And preseason, once again, is almost over. And it just sort of like prepares you for the regular season. And I feel the same way when it comes to like doing this show or doing my personal play-by-play ventures. Yeah. All right. Here's another question. Someone wants to know, what has surprised you the most about joining the Devils broadcast team? Obviously for better.
Obviously for the better. I mean, I just think I don't know if this is specific to the team in general or just working with MSG. I think the flow of broadcasts at this level is insane. That's something that's been positively surprising. It's a big learning curve. To give a little background of my position, I'm sure you guys you'll see on TV, but going from being ice level and doing your player interviews to having 2 minutes to get up to the suite level to get set for the intermission, do all of that, then run back downstairs ice level. It's a lot to just manage, and you have your own thoughts that you're trying to relay on TV while listening to Sal and giving his input and being able to kind of go back and forth. I think it's such a high-paced job. And it's encouraging to know that eventually it'll become second nature. But that's a big jump from what I'm used to back in Fargo. But everybody, like I said, just talking about the team in itself has been super, super great. I've had a one-on-one interview with Sheldon Keefe, and he was really awesome. Just getting to know everybody a little bit each day, showing up to practice, having them recognize me, introducing myself to the players I haven't had the chance to meet yet. Everybody's been nice and just welcoming, and that's what I appreciate so much, because everybody else has been established for a long time. Well, I should say, but outside of Sheldon, he's still learning everybody's names too, right? But just being around a good group of people makes your job so much better.
Amen to that. I definitely agree with you. And like I said earlier in the show, whenever I'm at the Prudential Center covering a game, it's always a good time and people are always so welcoming. And I appreciate whether it's Devils or MSG, everyone's been super supportive of me and my ventures and has helped me out in more ways than one. All right, final question.
Okay.
What are you the most excited for this season now that you're a part of the Devils crew?
I'm really excited to just fully immerse myself into this lifestyle a little bit, being able to see the country a little bit more too, right? For somebody that's never been able to really leave, now being able to travel to every away game with the team and see all of these NHL arenas, right? That's something that's been on my bucket list since I was a kid and really started to watch Minnesota Wild games. I was like, wow, it would be really cool to go to every arena. And now I have the possibility to really live that out. And I think that's something that's making my younger self really happy and getting to cover the sport that I love. That's what I'm just most excited for. I think once I get maybe a month of games under my belt, it'll kind of loosen me up a little bit, if that makes sense. I think it's been a lot to take in these first couple games. But once you get more and more under your belt, just being able to watch hockey. Like, who doesn't want to watch hockey all day, every day, and call it your job? Like, that is a dream come true. And being able to really take in all the little things like that throughout the year is what I'm looking forward to the most.
All right, before we wrap up, just a quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Is there a location or is there an arena that you're looking forward to the most to visit?
Oh, boy, there's so many. I mean, if you're not excited to go maybe see the Utah Hockey Club's arena, I mean, that's brand new. So that's a new one that's obviously added to the list. But I think Vegas would be really cool.
Wear earplugs from experience. Wear earplugs.
At Vegas?
In Vegas, loudest arena I've ever been.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Duly noted.
Yeah, let me just tell you, like I was in Vegas with the Devils this past season, and like I could feel the vibrations on my notes on the table. It was so loud. It was a matinee matchup on St. Patrick's Day. I'm like,
yes. Okay.
I'm like, shouldn't you guys be out like on like partying somewhere else? But it was so loud for a Sunday afternoon matchup. I literally said, next time I gotta get earplugs. Loudest.
Well, could you really expect anything less from a city like Vegas? I mean,
they love their hockey. They love their hockey.
Yeah. And so many teams are moving in that direction too, right? Vegas is becoming one of the hot spots for a lot of professional teams. Other than that, I mean, I think Nashville would be pretty cool. And I need to say that I don't know anything about any other arenas. So I don't know what they look like or what to expect, but I'm thinking more cities wise. I think Nashville will be pretty cool. And some of the Florida arenas. I mean, it seems so odd to have hockey in Florida. So that's why I think I'm a little curious to see what those arenas are like. Because, I mean, growing up for me in Minnesota, you walk out of the arena, it's cold out. Like, just hockey and winter go hand in hand. But having it be 85 degrees when you walk outside is going to be a little weird. So that'll be cool too.
It's funny you mentioned that. I actually have an internship with the Florida Everblades right now. That's where I'm hunkered down for the time being. So my plan is to travel with the Devils when they come down south. And obviously when I go back home to visit my family, I'll be at the Prudential Center. But I do plan on traveling to North Carolina, Nashville, and obviously the two Florida teams.
Well, then we'll be seeing you, right?
Yeah, you'll see me hopefully in a few weeks. That's the plan. That nothing confirmed.
Okay.
Everybody just in the works. But Rachel, we talked about everything from your playing career to your media career to you landing the gig with the New Jersey Devils. Once again, welcome to New Jersey. I presume my audience already knows where to find your work, but do you want to throw in any social media plugs?
Yeah, so obviously my Twitter handle is right down there, and then my Instagram is the exact same. I have not been known to be super active on social media in the past, but it's a big part of this job now, and I'm excited to take that and run with it now that I have this position. I think there's so much more to share. So that's where I'll be posting a lot of my content is on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. And everybody tune in to MSG this upcoming season to watch Rachel, Bill, Dano, and Bryce give you all the action. And like I do to close out every single episode, continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Special thanks to Rachel once again for taking the time to appear on this show.